Hi, today I will be showing you more things that you can do in Latex. So now let's open our text maker. We want to create a new file, document class, article. As usual, let's do begin document. We'll start by talking a bit more on section. Last time we did section, which is just the blocks of text. So we need to save this, and this would give you section. Under a section, I can create a subsection, and I can create a subsection. But if I do subsection, you can see I get an error because I get a because this is not defined, and you can type words under each section. What you can also do is you can create a section without indexing by adding this asterisk here. And similarly for subsection, you can do the same thing, and then subsection, same thing. And this is just the name of your section, section 1, section 1. Next, let's do listing. Last time we talked about two ways of listing. You can have itemize or you can have enumerate. So the difference between them is that itemize would give you a list without index, but enumerate would index all the elements that you have. And what you can also do is to add itemize just to be consistent. You can add another itemized environment inside of a itemized environment. So you can do nested list, and in fact, the maximum that you can do is 4. Maybe they just run out of idea for creating the sign in front of the list. So you have a dot, you have a bar, you have an asterisk, you have another smaller dot. And if you try to create another begin itemize, or you would get an error. So say I change this to enumerate, and I add an atom here. So basically, the maximum number of lists of the same kind that you can do is just 4. And similarly for enumerate, the maximum number of enumerate environment that you can create, nested enumerate environment that you can create is 4. And as you can see, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The maximum is 6, no matter how many you create. That's the maximum. But for each itemize or enumerate, you can create a maximum of 4 individually. So just to make a point, I can do enumerate. I have to delete this one because it was too much. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and I couldn't create more nested lists. That's the maximum that you can get. It's also 4 as itemize. You get 1, A, I, and capital A. If you combine itemize and enumerate, the maximum number of lists that you can create inside of a list, I guess, is 6. But if you want to create individual enumerate, there is only 4 options for you. But you can always combine them like this. Okay, so that's about lists. Another thing that you can do is to add a label on something. Here, say in my section, I can, for example, add label sec, because it's section 1. okay? And here in my itemize, if I want to refer to that section, I can do refer section 1. Let's see. Okay, maybe I can't do it in there. I can do it here at least. So I get a 1 here because it refers to section 1. So I can do section 1. And similarly, I can do a label here, also section 2. And I can do section ref section 2. I'll get section 1.1 because that's this subsection that I have. The advantage of doing this instead of typing section 1 and section 1.1 is that if I wanted to create, say, subsection here, and my subsection 1.1 would not become 1.2, but here is still 1.1. That is the advantage of label. And just to confirm, if I do if I refer to section 2, I will have 1.2. And if I add another section, another subsection in front of it, I will get 1.3. I had to run it twice. And so you could add a label for a fig, a label for table. And next thing I want to talk about is reference. Last time what we did was we did begin the bibliography, and then we had to put an index here. If you put any number that's under 10, you would create a maximum of 9 reference. So let's put it 9. Doesn't matter. And then end this. So here you can create bib item, and then the name, and then you reference, and here you can cite name, and you have to run it twice, and you get 1. Okay, and that's not always a good thing to do because sometimes you just want your file to be organized, and if you're that kind of person, what you can do is you can go to your folder and you want to change the file to, instead of PDF, to bib, and use bib. So what it does is that let's open it here. So bibliography 2, bib. Okay, so this is my bib, which is this thing. You can open Chrome, say I go to Google Scholar, and relativity, and then if you want to cite something like an article on here, what you can do is you can click on this quote sign, and here you have bib text, and click on that, copy what's on this HTML, and you go to your bib file and copy this on there and save it. That's all. And you go back to your text file. Let's add a bibliography style with RST. Not sure. We'll see. All we needed to do is to create this bibliography style. This is a citation, and you can add more. Let's go back to my Google Chrome. Let's cite this article. We cited this one, right? Let's cite this article. Bib text and copy this, and you want to add it inside of your bib folder, bib file, and here you can cite the second. Yeah. So the moral of the story is that you have to cite it before running your bib text and then quick build. One thing that you have to change maybe in your preference is to change whatever you have to this. If it didn't work, try doing that and it should work. If it still didn't work, you may leave a comment below and I'll try to fix it for you. That's all I want to cover for reference. Now we're going to talk about mass mode because usually people use latex for mass. So we talked about inline formula, which the way you do it is just by putting $2 a squared. If you want to do a display formula, you do $4 and then a squared. If you want to end this line, you do 2 slash, and that will go to the next line. But you see it's not aligned. So what you can do instead is to just create an empty space. That would also work. And yeah, so that's inline formula, and this is display formula. What we can also do is to create a new page. I'll be doing display formula just so that you can see better. So you can do a squared, which we know what it would look like, but we can also do a squared, which does not work. You can do it inside of this curly bracket. You can potentially do it like this again. That's superscript. And what you can also do is say x squared plus 3, or anything. You could do e to the power of e to the x, That's also doable. Now let's do subscript. A sub 2. Okay, and if you want to do a sub 2 plus 3, you have to add curly brackets, x3x. And then if I try to do this, you see it still doesn't work. But if you do this, you get that. You get a x sub 3. But if you want to do the entire text sub 3, what you can do is close it with a parentheses, and that will do for subscript. Now, Greek letters. Most common Greek letters. Let's see if I remember all of them. For sure, no. You can do alpha, you can do beta, you can do gamma, you can do psi, or psi, you can do phi, and if you can do epsilon. And you can see you have to use mass mode to do Greek letters as well. If you want to create space, what you can do is add a backslash comma. Yeah, and also, some people would be confused about this epsilon. So I actually just realized that there's 2 types of epsilon. There's var epsilon and there is epsilon. So the difference is just depends on the region. One is in Europe, one is more used in America. So choose whichever you like. So you have var epsilon, var phi, var pi. Var pi. Okay, that's interesting. Never seen that before. R rho, R sigma, var sigma, var theta. I've never seen var sigma and var theta before. Let's take a look at it. It's pretty different from just sigma and theta as we would often see. This looks much more familiar. If you want to do capital Greek letter, sigma, pi, which looks like this. If you want to do, but this is different from the sum, right? If you want to do sum, you do sum. And then you type I equals to 0 to n. And you can do product I equals to 0 to n. So these are pretty different. The subscript would just go over on the side instead of the bottom. Pi mod, bit like that. Okay, so that's Greek letters. And what we can also do is square root. Square root. You just type SQRT and you have two options. Let's just look at this first. So if you do square root of 2, it will give you this, and this part is just to say cube root of 2, and but usually that's just enough for me. That's square root, and you can do square root under square root under a square root under a square root, and you get the idea, right? And what you can also do is you can do fraction. Do fraction is backslash frac. The first one is what's on the top, and the second one is what's on the bottom, so 1 over 2. If you add just normal parentheses around it, it will look really bad. So what you have to do is you have to add a left and a right for the parentheses so that it fits according to the height of your fraction. And what I can do is show you how powerful that is. So as you can see, it goes along all the way to the bottom and to the top. So the right is actually really useful, but sometimes you can't use this in certain environments or contexts, and sometimes you just have to find a different way of changing the size of your bracket or curly bracket. Yeah, let's talk about curly bracket now. So if you want to type curly brackets, you have noticed that we use curly brackets to group a section of our formula. For example here, I equals to 0. So it's actually a special character in LaTeX. If you want to type curly brackets, you have to put backslash in front of it. Parentheses are fine, and square brackets are also okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for brackets. Other than left parentheses, right parentheses, you can do big parentheses and then big parentheses, fraction 1 over 2. And this also works, but not as convenient as left, because left automatically adjusts according to the size of your equation or term. There are 4 types of big, so BIG, BIJG, BIG, BIGG. And as you can see, the size of them are different. So let's put it that way. Yeah. And but you have to always play around with it and see if it fits or not. It's not just limited to parentheses. You can also do curly brackets, but you have to put this backslash before curly brackets. That's it for this tutorial. Hope you liked it.